Hi, I'm Joey Lott, and in this video I'm going to share with you a guided somatic inquiry that you can utilize to process any unwanted experience. Specifically, I will suggest that you can utilize this for a unwanted, traumatic, or difficult memory. But really this will work equally well for any other kind of experience. It doesn't have to be specifically a memory. Let me give you a brief introduction to this process so that you can make the most of it, and then I will guide you through it, okay? So the core insight that this process utilizes is that, I'll put it in first person, but you can see if this is true for you. So the core insight is that my experience is shaped only by, let's say, two things. One is my mechanical reactivity. Two is open awareness. Those are the only things that shape my experience. My mechanical reactivity shapes my experience based on my past. Therefore, when I allow my mechanical reactivity to shape my experience, I will experience more of what I experienced in the past. If I didn't like it, I'm a fool to continue to repeat that. But most of us aren't aware of that. We haven't recognized that core insight, and therefore we just are asleep, even though we think we're awake, and we mechanically repeat the same thing over and over and over, even though we might call it something different. Now, this is a really key insight for me. Perhaps you will discover that this is really valuable for you. So what I'm inviting you to do is take a look right now and see how perhaps this is true for you. Now, this is different than what I have been taught. This is different than what the majority of humans seem to believe is true. In the mainstream thought, my experience is shaped by my conditions. My experience is shaped by my circumstances. My experience is shaped by other people, by events, by forces outside of me. And so if I believe that that is true, then I'm a victim, and I say those things cause my experience. So if I don't like my experience, I say it's because of these external forces, it's because of these conditions, it's because of these circumstances, it's because of these things that happened or that are happening, or that might happen. So let me try to make that clearer, and then we'll get to the practical exploration. So the mainstream belief seems to be that my experience, if I don't like it, if I say I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling upset, I'm feeling irritated, I'm feeling impatient, I'm feeling whatever it is that I label it. The mainstream belief is that that is caused by something outside of me. It's caused by something that I'm a victim of. So I might say, well, I really don't like loud noises. The people around me are making loud noises, therefore I'm suffering. Or something bad happened in the past, something bad happened to me, I have a memory of it. Anytime I have that memory, anytime that memory is triggered, anytime something that happens that triggers that memory, I feel bad until I can make it go away, or until enough time passes that it does not seem to trouble me as much. Now, personally, I suffered a great deal from that belief because I did not question it in a really meaningful way. And so I suffered tremendously, believing that I was a victim of circumstance, people, events, past, and so forth. The somatic inquiry offers a direct inquiry into the actual experience so that I can discover what is really true. And it offers, I believe, for anybody who does this sincerely, the opportunity to discover directly for themselves this core insight, or this insight that I referred to, which is that in fact my experience is shaped only by my mechanical reactivity or by awareness, conscious awareness, open awareness. So when my experience is shaped by my mechanical reactivity, I just unconsciously repeat the same things that produce the same state, and it's a vicious cycle. It's unconscious, so I don't recognize it, but that I can become conscious of it, and when I become conscious of it, I'm no longer a victim of it because I can see that that's all that's happening. It's just a mechanical habit occurring unconsciously. When I become conscious of it, now my experience is shaped by open awareness. Open awareness shapes my experience by taking the shaping mechanism off of it, the restrictive mechanism, so that my experience now becomes open. Minor correction. In fact, my experience has always been open, but I become aware of it through open awareness. I become aware of the true nature of my experience as open and unshaped and unconditioned through open awareness. And this somatic inquiry offers the opportunity to discover this directly. So this is a practical exploration, and it offers practical benefits, palpable benefits. There's a palpable shift that is experienceable. And so this is not something that you have to merely take my word for. This is something that you can actually experience. And so let's explore that together. Now, as I say, you could apply this inquiry to any experience, not just to unwanted memory or traumatic memory or difficult memory, but we'll explore it in that context now. So if it's comfortable for you, well, let me say, find a comfortable position that you can maintain without undue strain or effort for 10 minutes. If it's possible for you to do this seated, then that would be excellent. But if it's not possible for you to do it seated, then don't do that, because anything that you try to do, if you're pushing yourself beyond your current thresholds, will be overwhelming and distracting and will not allow you to have as clear of a recognition. On the other hand, if you don't find the right balance where you're exploring those thresholds of comfort and discomfort, or strain versus effortlessness, then the inquiry is not as useful. So if you can do it seated, upright, without leaning back, excellent. If not, then find a position that works for you, as I say, that you can maintain without strain for about 10 minutes. So ideally, we're not going to move, at least not very much. The movement should be subtle, if at all, during this 10 minutes. So if that requires lying down, please do so. If that requires reclining, please do so. Whatever you need to do. Now I'm going to close my eyes, and if it's comfortable and appropriate for you to do so, please do so as well. The reason being that closing the eyes helps to eliminate the visual stimulus, or reduce the visual stimulus, so that we can more easily attune to the felt experience. But if that's uncomfortable or inappropriate for you in this moment, then don't close your eyes. So really honor what is necessary for you. Again, if we push ourselves and strain unnecessarily, then the inquiry is not going to be nearly as effective. For the next 10 minutes or so, what I invite you to is to remain still. It's relative, obviously, because we're going to be breathing, probably. So the body won't be completely still. Internal movements, of course. But to whatever degree is possible, let's explore remaining still physically. Now, because we're exploring this in the context is unwanted, difficult, or traumatic memory, I'd like to invite you to select that memory, and let's start with something that doesn't risk being completely overwhelming. As you become familiar and confident in the process, you can apply this to any memory that seems big or small. You'll start to see that they're all equal in their stature in reality. None is truly greater or lesser than the others, all equal. Because you'll start to see the true nature of the experience. This will become clearer to you, and you'll see it for what it really is. It may seem to loom large, but as you become familiar with the actual nature of the experience, you'll see that it is all equal. But for now, because it's not yet familiar to you, select something that has a charge, but not a huge charge, so that it's not likely to overwhelm you. And of course, if you don't have any memories that are troublesome to you, that's excellent. So you can apply this to any present experience that seems to be uncomfortable or unwanted. But I'll keep the focus, the guided portion, on memory. So you've selected a memory. Don't worry about getting the perfect one. It's not important. Just any memory that has a charge. It could be a positive charge too, incidentally. But for now, let's keep it with negative charge, unwanted charge. And now what I'd like us to do is to see if we can maintain awareness of multiple things at once. So we're remaining aware of being still physically. We're remaining aware of the memory. Can we remain aware of both? Now, whatever this memory is, invite the full awareness of the memory. Don't strain to try and invent or create it. Just invite it, and don't worry about what happens. Maybe it seems to fade or become distant or ungraspable. That's fine. Maybe it seems to be big. Maybe it seems to be uncomfortable. That's okay. Just allow whatever happens to happen. Now, as you remain aware of both the memory and of remaining still in the body, notice what sensations you become aware of in the physical body as you remain also aware of the memory. So whatever it is that happened, you can perhaps see those images, think the thoughts. Notice the sensations. Notice your habit. Notice how you process this memory habitually by observing the sensations, observing the compulsions. Notice subtler and subtler sensation. Notice what you do with your tongue. Notice what you do with your eyes. Notice what you do in your gut. Notice what you do in the throat. Notice what you do in the hands and wrists. And can you simply remain still and restful, allowing the compulsions to make subtle movements, to make subtle eye movements, to look away, to look elsewhere, to consult thought, to believe the habitual story about what this memory means, what it means about you, how it's going to hurt you now, how it's unbearable now, whatever it is that comes up for you, just notice how you do it. It involves subtle, or maybe not so subtle, reactions in the body. Unconscious, habitual interpretations of the sensations. Fixation on stories. So here we're simply remaining aware of being still in the body and the memory. And in this light of this stillness and the memory, we're observing the compulsive reactivity. And just remaining restful and allowing for those compulsions to subside, to dissolve, to rest. So we can start to notice where they arise from in the body, and we can allow for them to soften. Now, in this, we can also become aware of chronic tension, habits of holding tight or generating numbness, discomfort, or strain. And we can just invite our open awareness to continue to remain as open awareness, so that we're not falling into the habit of contracting around the experience and trying to do something about it. We're just remaining as open awareness and allowing for the sensations to clarify themselves, so that we become aware of what we're doing habitually, so that it becomes conscious rather than unconscious. Notice what's happening in the buttocks. Are they gripping? Do you even know what's happening? And without adjusting or fidgeting, can you just allow the experience to be and to soften into it? Can you allow the lower abdomen to soften? Just remaining still and noticing that the habit of trying to be still is one of rigidity, but we're exploring here to discover how this stillness is actually intrinsic to our nature. We can actually just rest in the stillness. In reality, the structure of our body completely aligns with that stillness so that we don't need to make any effort. We can just be here, supported by the floor or the bed or the couch or the chair or whatever's underneath us, without making any unnecessary effort, without indulging the habits of trying to get comfortable, trying to fix it, trying to figure it out. Aware of the memory and aware of the sensations, aware of this open quality. Again, become aware of the memory. Notice, is this memory any different now? If you don't indulge the compulsive habits of avoidance, reactivity,
but you just remain still, restful, and aware of the sensations, aware of the compulsive habits, but just allowing those compulsions to dissolve at subtler and subtler levels so that they don't even need to take as much shape. Before they took more shape, they took the shape of tensions, fidgeting, thoughts, all kinds of unnecessary effort. Just notice how this memory is different when you simply are still. Still and observing. Observing your actual experience. Observing the sensations. Observing the reality of the sensation. Noticing the thoughts about the sensation. The judgments of the sensation. The fears about what the sensations might mean. As you are aware of them and you don't indulge the reactive habits, notice how the compulsions dissolve at subtler levels. They don't take shape as much. Maybe you can start to notice that you're actually aware of this stillness in a new way. And maybe you can even notice that the memory is occurring in this stillness, and that
in fact, the actual nature of the memory is this stillness. It's not different from the stillness. Perhaps if we remain really open and still and restful and aware, we might even notice that the memory no longer has any charge at all. Now, of course, this process will uh, it will work in the same way regardless of the type of memory and regardless of the person, but depending on your familiarity with the process, your confidence in it, may take longer or shorter for this dissolving of the compulsive habits. When that dissolving happens, there's a palpable shift, a release. If you've experienced that during this guided inquiry, then I'm very glad for that. If you have not, then I encourage you to continue to explore in this way. Explore on your own or with this guided video, so that you can discover this very practical insight that can allow you to dissolve all of the reactive, compulsive habits that produce suffering in your life. If you have your eyes closed, then I suggest that when you open your eyes, that you do so slowly and with awareness. Explore how gently and smoothly you can allow your eyes to open. That might be an interesting thing to take a look at. Maybe something you've not done. Just be curious about that and be curious about what that can reveal. Thank you for joining me for this guided inquiry. I hope that this has been helpful to you. Bye for now.